I really enjoyed doing this piece. However, I didn't get to see the marks that I wanted to see. And by that, I mean this page and the Collage Soup Bird Nerd. These are the kind of marks that I wanted to see. And I think my colors were just too dark. So you see all those lovely marks? So what I'm going to do is go with a lighter color palette. I chose this one. I really like how muted it is, but I like the random spots and dashes and just different textures all on there. I very much am a textural person, so having this many marks I think will be kind of fun to play with. And I'm not sure if I can make it work, but we're going to try it again. My subject again is the hydrangea. You can see that it's got these 4 petal flowers on there. I want to make them pretty big, but I also want to show a little more dimension. So I'm going to start by drawing those. And I wanted to add some texture to the background with a stencil. I love numbers. So numbers to me go with everything. You might be like, why are you putting that with a hydrangea? But you can use anything you want. I just want some random numbers in the background because I think it will be fun to discover. And I like when you can discover work. So again, I'm going to do a double spread. I really like the way that this was composed. I like the little dark area here, and I like though that this was much bigger. See how it kind of expanded over here? And then I went with some of the negative and positive spaces. So we're going to try that again, and this time I'm going to try to do it without a Posca pen. So I'm going to draw first. What I'm drawing, I am using a heavier pencil this time. I really wanted thicker marks, so I'm going to use my Graph Gear 0.9 pencil, but I'm going to do it light and dark. So I know I want the hydrangea over here. I'm going to actually just put a stem kind of here, and then I'm going to draw some simple 4-petal flowers. I want them to be a little bigger and a little fuller this time. Mine were too skinny last time for what I wanted. So can you see how big that is? That's a nice size. I want them to kind of overlap. I don't want them in any kind of pattern. And I'm going to pick 5 really large ones. That's what I want. I want one that kind of goes this way. And of course I picked the page with the string in the middle here. Let's go bigger. Now some of these white petals I know I want to go around this time, but I do want to make sure that some remain in the background. Okay, that looks pretty nice. I'm going to go ahead now and add some little heavier marks. So I know I want this one. I really like this cluster here. So I'm going to go heavy. So by pushing harder here and then let it go lighter. Heavy here, let it go lighter. So you see how I'm making this part here a little more important than what it had before. I like that. See how it demands your attention? And I'm going to do that with the stem as well. I like the stem being a little firmer. Doesn't take much with those heavy lines, but it really makes an impact on what you're seeing. Do you see that? So now what that gives me a thing to do is I can go behind this, or I can choose to go in here and add a little more color, a little more shadow since it's so deep. I'm going to do the same one. I think I want these 3 to be the ones that gain your attention. Okay, I like that a lot. Let's get that one. And what I also want to do is put in my numbers. So if this is, remember I want kind of a darker area over here, but I want this to kind of, I think from here, go up and over. So I'm going to try to put a couple numbers behind here. And how I'm doing that is I actually want to trace my number. I am a number 2 fan. There are 2 people in our family, so I love the number 2. Let's see if I can get it right there. I'm just going to trace it with my pencil. I could probably do this with a lighter pencil, but I'm okay if the marks show. Okay, let's do that. And I want a really tiny little compact numbers. I'm looking for a little set of them over here. Oh, here's an interesting, there's a 1, 3, and 7. That looks kind of cool. I could fit them between the flowers. That's nice right there. These are not going to be bold. They're going to be kind of faded in the background so that you see them on accident almost. That's fun. All right, and I'm going to stick one more over here in the bottom. I can tell you I'm already excited having these different elements in there, and I love the fact that they really don't go together. I usually like to put things together that are unexpected. So look at that. See that little stencil in there? And then we've got the number 137 up here, and then the big number 2 there. So I'm loving the way that it's already looking. It's getting me excited to add color to it. And that's when I know it's a good design, when I'm really excited to explore a little differently and add more color. So I'm going to lighten this too just a little bit. I don't want it that bold. And because I do want these lighter colors, let me show you that. So I'm going to use an indigo here. I'm going to use like apricot and a red tint. Then I'm going to use, of course, beige titanium. But I want to add something dark here. I love that darkness up there. I'm going to pull out my color chart. And this is from my 24 palette. So here's what I'm thinking. Here's my buff titanium row, which I love that buff titanium, and I love how dirty it is. That's mixing it with hematite, and that might just give me my dirty area, but I was kind of thinking something along a more greenish kind of color. So something along like this Joyce's Mother color and the hematite. I like the way that that looks. I think it's just a really kind of cool color. For my blue, I really want to go with like a indigo and a Davy's gray. I like the two of them. I think the indigo is too dark for me, but I think the Davy's gray, which is right above it, is a little too light. So I like the combination of both of them there. And then as far as my apricot and my red tint, I'm trying to decide which one do I want to use, and maybe I'll mix a little bit of both. It's a little purer. It's going to give me a little bit of brightness. This is my 18 color palette from 2024. I have loved using that, and that's what I'm going to use for this, just so that I get to play and remember what I'm using. I'm going to do a couple techniques. So I'm using the Artify, using the cat's tongue in the 3/4, and also the number 10 round. I'm using the cat's tongue. That's going to help me fill areas quicker because of the fat belly of the brush right there. But what it's going to do is let me go around some of those hydrangeas like I want to. Remember, I want to keep some of them empty. I've also got a straw here because I want to drop some puddles of color down and kind of blow them away so that they create a different texture. So let me get my desk set up, and then we're going to get ready to paint. Before I start, I want to get some puddles mixed in so that I'm not spending time mixing them while my paint is dry. So this was Joyce's Mother. And this was the hematite genuine. Remember, that's the dark that I kind of want to put everywhere. The hematite genuine is a granulating color. So it's going to give me a lot of really pretty, I think, dark spots in it. I'm also going to go with the Titan buff here. Now this is Da Vinci Titan buff, so it's a little, I want to say grayer than the Daniel Smith. Daniel Smith Titan buff is a little more yellow. So I want to use this color, and I want to touch a little bit of hematite just to dirty it up a little bit. There we go. That's going to be pretty. And this is the Da Vinci red tint. And I'm going to mix some American Journey apricot in there. I just want to tone it down. So if you don't have apricot, you could use Naples yellow. You could add some Titan buff. Anything's going to mute that down, and you can see the intensity here versus the intensity here. I really like that. Okay, and then we have to do indigo, just a touch of indigo, and Davy's gray. Davy's gray, holbein is my favorite, and I'm using Van Gogh indigo over here. Ooh, that's a pretty color. I want these two to match, I want these two to go together beautifully. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, I think we're ready. I've just got a little mister here, and I'm just gonna mist my page. I don't want it too wet. So in fact, this flower petal is really wet. I'm gonna just kind of blot it out. Remember, the petals I want white. When using this brush, I'm gonna fully load it in my paint. So I want it in there, I want it flat, I want a lot of water because I want this to have some texture. Gonna go into that green. Already loving that. into texture or the buff by itself. Oh, look at that. That's beautiful. Let's tuck a little of that bright green there. All right, I'm gonna splash because I see this is kind of drying, and remember, I like the movement of this. I'm using Fabriano Studio paper. It is my favorite because of how the water mixes with it. I've got just a brush here with some water. I want to soften this edge right here. Let's bring some of these dots and dashes in. That one I don't like at all, so I'm gonna just blot that. And I can see I'm being too picky already, so I need to just let it go and let it play. Okay, so I'm making this one have the emphasis on it. So that's why I've got two really bright leaves here, or petals. And the rest I'm kind of just toning back just a little bit. Before I go to dry that, I'm going to take a brush here with some water. I'm going to go into that pinkish color. And I want some really big drops. Now those, do you see how they're dissipating? So they don't really demand your attention as much as I want them to. So I'm going to just touch a little bit of blue because I want to add the blue in there so it dissipates as well. This has been dried. So what I'm going to do now is I love this green right here. Well, I want to bring that back around some of this coloration, and I have a number there. So let me take some of that bright green, which is Joyce's Mother Green. I like that a lot. Okay, I'm gonna do a little bit of this 5 over here because that's in the green. Gonna just dampen my brush and let that just kind of fade away. So see how they're requiring that your attention is there. I'm gonna do a little bit of the pink over here. I've got a lot of the pink drops that I did over here. So I want to add a little bit of the buff titanium to this pink. So I don't want it that bright. I don't want it to demand your attention like I think the pure pink would. All right, I'm going to just blot this top edge here with the paper towel. I want this edge here to disappear just a little. It's a little too harsh. There we go. Okay, I like that. I've got a little bit of pink over here as well. See how it added a nice definition? Now what I really like happening, I don't know if you've seen this, but you see how this is really demanding your attention now that I added the darkness there and that hematite geniune. And even though this is brighter, this is gaining your attention because of contrast. So think of dark and light. Contrast is more important than color. Dark and light will always gain your attention first, unless this was like a bright red or an intense orange on here. Then that would demand your attention. But because we've used these colors all throughout, it's kind of giving it all a muted feel. But that contrast right there is doing a lot for my composition. So if you're struggling, always look with a squinted eye, so just squint your eye and say, do I have enough contrast? Because most of the time it's no, especially in watercolor because it's a lighter medium. I'm going to go into my pinks now. I'm trying to decide now, so I'm looking at my composition. Remember, my piece here had really big drips, and I love those. But I want them in there where they make sense in the composition. Like, I like this pink over here a lot, but there's hardly any pink. I've got a real faint spot in here. So I really want to do kind of a bigger spot. Let me see. I really want a big spot there. So what I'm going to do is just take my paint, make it really watery. I've got my straw here and I'm going to blow straight down. So I need to move this so that I can blow it. I want it to go that way. Okay, I'm going to touch some more pink in there. And now I want to blow it that way. And I'm going to add some more pink in that dot. Okay, I'm going to blot through here. I want it to be a little lighter on that one. I love that. Okay, so I'm going to add a blue one here. Remember, the blue is a lot darker, so I need a lot more water on there. And I don't want it as big. Okay. It doesn't take much, but I love that. I just love the way that it looks. So this is a little too solid. So what I'm going to do is just dip some water in there. That one too. I'm going to take my pencil now, and I want to add some pencil marks. I don't want a lot of them, but I do want more marks than this. So let me bring you closer. Now I have to keep my hands out of it. So this is my main one, and I definitely want to add some little vein lines because the vein lines are beautiful on this piece. I'm going to press harder here towards the center and then go lighter as I go out. See how it brings your attention in? That's what I like. Now I'm going to do some of these. I don't want the petal that's hiding here, I don't think. Let me see. Let me add this one. I'm pressing a little harder there, and I like that. Keep it fairly light over here in this one. Wow, I like that attention to see what that's doing. Isn't that looking lovely? And that is what I was missing out of the other piece. So I'm going to turn this to keep my hand out of that. And they're really little thin marks, but I love what they're doing to the petals. They're really bringing life to them, and they're making them more important than everything around it. Because even though these are light, it is detail, right? It is something else going on. I'm gonna go dark here. Wow, I love that. I'm going to add just a little back and forth here on the stem. And I really don't want to do anything with the numbers. I think that it's going to be fun just finding them. I mean, the 2 really stands out here, which I think what I'm going to do is just take a little bit of water through here. Make it a little softer so it's not as defined. Okay, my final step is I'm going to take a little bit of pink. All right. I really like that, and I like it for several reasons. So remember, I was trying to do it differently than this one, right? This one, I lost my shapes and the pencil marks. This one feels softer, and I can see the pencil, I can see the beautiful lines, I can see the stencils. I love the straight lines that Blowing the Water did, because it adds another level of texture that you're like, what is that, right? It kind of makes you want to come closer and check it out. And so for me, this was a much more successful piece because I got to see the marks, and that's what I was missing off of the last piece. So if you enjoyed seeing me try this again in a different way, please let me know in the comments. I would really appreciate that. And if you haven't subscribed, please click the subscription box. And as always, thanks for watching.